one thing you think is relevant for the world to know, either about you or some ideas you would like to share?
Well, the biggest problem I see with entrepreneurs in the world that I'm at is that the value of what they're doing isn't really, it's not realistic, right? Everybody thinks that their stuff is so great. It's
They are
so
unique
much
on
money,
next
right?
unique.
So, and everybody thinks an idea is worth something, right? But the reality is that if you did a scale of starting with one, and you've probably gone through this yourself, but if you have an idea, it scores as a one, right? It's worth $1, let's call it.
True.
And an idea worth $1, and you go, I've got an idea. Or people sit there and go, I had that idea 5 years ago. They stole my idea, whatever. An idea is worth $1.
Yeah.
If you can get a provisional patent on that idea, it's worth $10. Right? You go, okay, now I've got something. But you actually have to have a product, because an idea is worthless. It's all about execution. Right? You have to get it there. So if you have an idea that has a patent and you have a product, well, that's worth 100. Right? And
now you're talking.
No, not quite. Nobody cares about your 100. Right? $100 or whatever your local currency is, 100 of it isn't going to change your mind, right? Definitely not a 100 dong, right? You're just not going to care about it. So you have a patented item, you have an idea, you patented it, and you built a product, and then you've tested it somewhere. Now it's worth 1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I've tested it. So you have an idea that's patented, that you have a product that you've tested, and customers like it. Now it's 10,000.
What we are really talking here is that when we start anything new, we believe we know everything. But when we start sharing it with our customers and audience, their feedback may require us to recalibrate our thinking and see what is working and what is not working.
Yeah.
And maybe pivot, or may use what is the best in that and discard everything else. Almost like Google's graveyard projects.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can just give up on it and put it in the shelf.
Right.
But in your mind something's there.
Right.
Right? And if you really think that you have an idea or something that's going to change the world, and you just don't have the mechanics of it right, it's always going to be in the back of your mind, even though you don't know it. And that could be luck or accident, but it's sitting back there.
Right.
And then 3 years later, you could be working on something, and you would think it's luck or accident, but because you saw these 3 things work in this plane and you applied it to this, you created a whole new product, and you go, wow, I just stumbled onto that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So, we always talk about, especially in Silicon Valley, overnight successes 20 years in making.
That's right.
So people and the rest of the world sees that this success is, he's overnight success. He's built another unicorn.
Well, nobody knows. Nobody pays attention to the other years.
Yeah. When
you're making $1, $10, $100, $1,000.
Sure.
But when your idea is worth, when you're in the 100,000 and the $1 million mark on your idea that was just worth $1 as an idea, then everybody thinks, wow, that's amazing. That's successful. Nobody cares about the hard work because they didn't know about it and they weren't there. And most people don't want to go through the hard work.
So when did you start your first company?
Well, one of my professors called me and said, hey, because I also ran a computing lab for the university when I was at university, and he called me and said, hey, one of my former students has an idea, and he sells malpractice insurance in San Antonio. I'm like, what does that have to do? Oh, you just got to talk to him. So I talked to this guy, and he goes, I'm dating the head doctor of the Navy, and they have and I have this idea to take history and physicals that the doctor does whenever you sit down. They take your blood pressure and all that kind of stuff. And then when you get a referral, they have to transcribe it manually into something to go out. He goes, I want to make that automated, and I want to do it on a tablet. Oh. And we have this tablet called the Motorola Pad and the Newton.
I remember Newton.
And he goes, I need somebody to write the software for that. So I said, okay, I can do that. He goes, no, I want you to come back and do it here. Oh. So I quit IBM. Oh. And I moved back to Las Cruces, and I worked with this guy. And I said, this is pretty cool. I'll do it. Talked to one of my father's friends who turns out was in venture capital. And he goes, look, it'll be fun for you, but this guy just wants to flip it and sell it. Oh. So I learned that, I didn't have a strong deal. He flipped it. I got $15,000. That was my whole upside in the first company that I was a co-founder of.
So let's talk about the Newton software.
The what?
Software you build on the Newton device.
Oh, yeah. And this Motorola Envoy was better. The Apple Newton was rough.
Because in 96, if you remember, Windows CE 2.8.
Yeah. But I was already over. This is now 94.
Yeah, I'm saying.
We're doing
So it's 2 years, so like it changed everything.
Yeah, it could have. But they still don't do it. He sold it to a company in Huntsville, a big medical company.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was that you just check off drop-down boxes. Here's your temperature. Here's all this kind of stuff. And we used the word, it was called Word Perfect back then. And they had the legal library and they had a medical library. And we transcribed, we would adjust that and literally print out the prescription, the information on it. And it was pretty cool. And it was actually very easy to program. It wasn't sophisticated. There's not not in the cloud, and there's not there's no Angular or HTML5.
It used to be all desktop-based software on the server-based thing.
It was pretty good.
Green terminals.
That's right. Yeah. And so I did that, and that was maybe 6 months, and he sold it. And it was cool. I thought that was cool. So I went back to college to make my dad happy. A sales guy from IBM in El Paso called me and said, "Hey, I have some customers in Mexico that want to link their manufacturing systems together between Juarez, Guadalajara,
while
and
you
Mazatlán."
are completing your undergrad.
And I'm like, "Yeah, why are you calling me?" "Oh, because I called the AS400 networking headquarter division, and I talked to the guy that ran the networking development lab, and he said, oh, the guy that actually wrote the software lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico."
Oh, okay.
So
it's a serendipity or it's a coincidence?
Can you connect these? Can you connect these with TCP/IP over frame relay for these guys and their different stuff? And because of NAFTA, all these maquiladores, as it's called, the manufacturers in Mexico, getting paid in U.S. dollars and paying their employees in pesos, right?
Yeah.
So they were really doing. So all the executives want to live in El Paso, so they couldn't run the different sites.
Yeah.
So then they wanted me to pipe it over the border. And, so they could see it all on their, so they could get the terminal software and just log in and do what they need to do. So I hired a couple of guys that worked for me at the computer lab, and we would go to, Friday, after we got off work, we'd go down to Juarez, they'd pick us up, and we'd go to one of the sites, spend the whole weekend in Mexico, and we had a consulting company.
Nice.
And, we did that for almost an entire year. So after we linked it all up, they wanted to get into manufacturing automation. It just went to more stuff. Or as soon as somebody goes, "Oh, you can do this with technology," well, can you do this? Can you do this? And it's
I remember those days.
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah. What I learned, Steve, in the last few minutes is, which is most of the entrepreneurs will relate to that. We are always seeing things and always thinking what kind of problems are really there. Maybe it's there or not, and trying to solve it. Whether it is big companies like Google or Facebook or even a small entrepreneur who is looking for an opportunity.
That's right.
People were coming to you and sharing their problem. And you were able to think through those problems and find the solution based on the technology available at that time.
And I have learned that solving a problem is a lot easier than having a solution and trying to find a problem.
Yeah, problem looking for a solution.
Yeah.
It's great, but solution
having a
problem is a
solution
bigger
looking
problem.
for a problem is really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah. So that's what, you are absolutely right. A lot of time we don't realize there are so many technologies, brilliant technologies, companies just shut down because there is no buyer.
That's right.
There are tons of those. I've seen it in Silicon Valley several times.
Technology for technology's sake.
Yeah. Not just that, even time.
A lot of it's cool too, but I couldn't figure out how to use it.
Yeah. So I do agree with you, and I do understand, which most people don't get it, is entrepreneurship is not about just one idea. Entrepreneurship is all about understanding the problem, trying to find better and better and better solutions to solve that one problem. Once you do that, then the exponential growth happens.
Leveraging all your life's experiences
to solve that.
To that point as well.
So talk about today. Now, you are the CEO of Walker Digital Table.
Yes.
Right? And in the industry,
very unique.
And the biggest challenge we have, as we know in the gaming industry, is from outside it looks pretty amazing, but when we start going and digging deeper and peeling the onion, people are not as excited about newer technology. Business is running. They're only interested in as long as the business is running, right?
Don't upset the apple cart.
That's true too.
Look, casinos will make all the money that they could make with one marketing plan. They can make 80% of the money that they should with one marketing plan. It's called the key. to unlock the door,
Yeah.
right? The next 20% is really hard. It's worthwhile, but it's really hard to really optimize and run a top ship casino that really makes the money.
So let's talk about, Steve, the future of customer experience in gaming. Technology is changing. Our world is becoming more of I start using word hybrid word.
Yeah.
Right. In a way, like work from home, same way, play from home and play in a casino and play on the road and play in the car. I don't know where else. But the experience is becoming really hybrid.
Yes.
Now, when the experience is becoming hybrid, how people like us can think about the future and create the future experiences. And this is a question, actually, one of my dear friend, Adam Stack, who I believe you know too, has asked me, Sanjiv, you are an expert of technology. You are a geek. You come from Silicon Valley. What do you think is the future? I have these 20 shows and I'm one of the rock stars in the Las Vegas when it comes to entertainment, but I don't know what is going to be in 5 years. So can you help me create, or can you help me even visualize what will be the consumer or player experience? So how you think that?
Well, I couldn't do an industry or a segment of the industry where somebody asked me because I have a background to go solve it. Mm-hmm. I personally have to have a passion for the activity and what it is, and
what process should they adopt,
and how you gamble. The biggest thing that I'm thinking about in the future is that everybody doesn't want the same experience.
Yeah, that'd be
but they still need to have the experience together.
Yeah.
Right. And so you look at slot players and I say that, that's a solo experience. We're sitting about as far away as slot players are. Yeah. This isn't social right now, right? We're just having a chat and we're pushed together a little bit, but if we're a slot machine, we'd be pretty far apart.
Yeah.
But at a table game in a casino, we're literally elbow to elbow. Yeah. We're touching each other, right? So there's a tight social connection in some games and there's not in others. So I'm focused on the ones that have a tighter social connection, right? And to be able to do that, you want to play next to your friends and have an experience. Mm-hmm. You definitely might not like all the same things. True. And the lowest common denominator of the group of friends usually wins out. Hey, let's all go play blackjack. Oh no, this person doesn't. We'll end up at the bar. Yeah. Right? So you have to figure out how you deliver the various experiences on the same, as you said, hybrid platform, so that everybody can kind of enjoy it at the same time while still being in a social atmosphere. So when we look at all that, how to change the platform and what players want, it is the opposite of trying to integrate the different types of play types that people enjoy, right? But bringing it into a social environment. We haven't cracked that nut yet. We're getting pretty close, I'd like to think. But in the interim, managing that platform, computerizing manual processes. So what we do is we take the physical live table games, a real dealer, decks of cards, gaming chips, and we make it digital.
Yeah.
Right? So you can still have live chips, cards, and a dealer, but the back end's like a slot machine. Everything's perfectly recorded, tracked, it's uncheatable. You can't mess around with the system. Mistakes can't happen. Fast game's a lucky game. Everybody in the casino business knows that. You don't like interruptions. You don't want to have somebody complain over here because, hey, you didn't pay me right, or blowing smoke in my face, or whatever else happens to be there. And
you still want to give them real experience.
We want to give real experience, but we couldn't do it. The same reason my buddy couldn't put it on a live table game, he had to move to a slot machine, is the real limitation of table games today. Right. Because you can't.
It's not designed.
You can't put a whole lot of outcomes on a live table game because the dealer has to recognize that, I have to pay this amount when it's an ace-8, or I have to pay this amount when it's 2 5s, or whatever that happens to be. And if you look at all the proprietary games or the carnival games out in the casino, that the customers are hungry for more types of games, and free bet blackjack, and 21 plus 3 and 21 plus 1, all these different games add a little excitement, but each one has a niche. Yeah. There's one hook, one game, right? Because people can't manage it and make it work.
Absolutely.
So we have this live physical platform that is actually managed digitally, that you can put anything on it you want. You can put 50 outcomes, and the computer tells the dealer, hey, this is the outcome, they won, pay it. So we can put a lot more excitement on there and give a craps-like experience without the intimidation. Right? Even though you know that, and it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because ideas are worth 1.
Yeah.
So why tell somebody it's worth 50 cents?
True.
right? No, that's
You
a
still
good,
have $1.
that's a
value.
good idea. Because if you tell somebody it's a bad idea, they'll stop coming up with ideas, or they'll stop bringing them to you, right? So, but then you like, oh, well, if it's patentable, that's a really good idea. No, our customer wants to try it, and it's gone out there, and it's, each time along the way, and then it's like, okay, now you've really done something, right?
Sure.
So, and you've proven that you've done it. But it could take 100 of those ideas.
Yeah.
So you always have to listen to the ideas. You always have to give the feedback on it without berating or saying it's not a good idea. Look at it like this, or try to apply it to that, try to move them in the right direction and see if they go anywhere with it. A lot of people just can't and don't, right?
Sure.
They go,
Sure.
I had this idea. I think it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to get it down the road, right? You have to keep moving it down the road. And that takes a different personality, not a better personality, of course. We might think so, but a different personality.
I would say it's just a different framing. It depends what you want to do with your life, what you want. So everybody's
absolutely.
very different. So,
that's right.
Some people love thriving in the operations mode. Some people love.
Some people like to make money, and some people like to count it.
Yeah, and we need both.
You absolutely need both,
because you can't live without the other one.
That's right.
So that's the reality.
That's
you still need a CFO to run the company.
That's exactly right.
Cool.
So
that's so great, Steve. I really enjoy our conversation. This is so good. Do you have any last message for our audience?
Yeah, never give up.
All right.
I mean, everybody says that, and it's so true.
But it's so true.
It is. It is so true.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Steve. For our audience, today we had Steve, CEO of Walker Digital Table Gaming. They are one of the most amazing and innovative company in Las Vegas, in my opinion. They're doing a lot of great work. You should look them up. But the big thing is, we learn companies are not built just by the idea. Idea may be playing only 1% of the role in the whole equation. And the rest is how you make it happen, how you get the audience. Because if you don't have the buyer, if you don't have the customer, if you don't have the people, even fans, you won't get anywhere, whether it's a band or it's another kind of idea. So the reality is your customer tells you if your idea is good enough. Yes, your idea is good enough or not. Once you start finding and listening to the voice of your customer, magic happens.
Do the dogs like the dog food, and the veterinary approve it? Right?
Exactly.
Right? You got to boil it down to the simplest essence.
Simple as that.